I am recording this August favorites on September 18th. It took me quite a time to finally sit down, review the makeup I purchased, I sampled over the course of August, and run through everything. It was quite the chunky beauty month, and loads of new makeup, loads of new discoveries, and of course I felt overwhelmed at the time because I knew this was going to be a long video, but I wanted to highlight my favorites, provide some updates on the products that I've been using before August, see how those are going, the samples that I acquired in my recent trying luxury foundation samples video. If you haven't checked that out, that's a fun one. And I appreciate your sentiments in recognizing how it's okay to sample makeup. I didn't know that it wasn't a thing in the reviewer content beauty space. I don't get a ton of foundation PR, and I certainly don't want to waste my money on a product that I'm not sure about, especially foundation. It being incredibly nuanced and detailed in terms of one's experience with it, the shade match, the undertone match, how it oxidizes, how it acts under different products with different products, how it performs in different climate conditions, right? There's so many things to consider that I wouldn't think no other than to try a sample first. And of course, with a retailer like Nordstrom that's quite generous with their sample program, and me being an avid beauty customer in that store and just developing a relationship with the different beauty reps there, I have a blast trying different tints and foundations. And the one I currently have on is the newly released Tom Ford Architecture Radiance Foundation in 13 Sepia. I quite like this foundation. It reminds me of the Suku foundation, which the Suku Europe team was so kind enough in providing me a new jar this year. I liken it to the Tom Ford because it has like that satin finish. I will say though that the Tom Ford is formulated to be thinner and lighter, but still formulated to provide that medium to high coverage finish without feeling heavy while appearing skin-like at the same time. So it's quite incredible. What's holding me back is the smell. It's like a strange herbaceous medicinal smell, not perfumey or flowery, often found in many luxury foundations. My favorite luxury beauty scent is Prada Beauty because it's not in your face, it's more clean, almost like a little zesty, and I find that I tolerate that more than like the more perfumey types out there. The Tom Ford might not be my favorite scent, but more tolerable than like a flowery scent found in other luxury beauty foundations. We'll see where my mind is at, where the budget is at during Black Friday week month, and perhaps me considering buying a full size of the Tom Ford, but just wanted to mention that. But alongside the Tom Ford foundation were several skin tint samples, the Dolce & Gabbana, which not necessarily new, but new to me as it was the first time I was trying their skin tint, the recently released Victoria Beckham Beauty Foundation drops, the Gucci tint, which I quite like, and the Suku tint that again was kindly sent to me by Suku Europe. The Suku tint in 040, I love the texture, but it is super neutral and it could make me look a little dull. So I have been mixing it with the Gucci tint in 47 medium deep, and that color cocktail works perfectly on me. And I do enjoy the Gucci tint as there is no fragrance. I was delightfully surprised by that. And the texture is creamy, but it's still lightweight and provides nice coverage for it being a skin tint. I decided to not buy the Victoria Beckham foundation drop simply because I'm not quite totally enamored by it. I do recognize how it's fantastic in blurring out imperfections, providing that evening of skin tone while still feeling lightweight and providing ample skincare benefits, because it is a collaborative effort with Augustinus Bader, who Victoria absolutely adores, the skincare line and all the skincare technology involved with those products that are now in her products. I get that entirely, but something I don't find myself using all the time. And again, I just gravitate more towards the Gucci and the Suku. The fact the Suku was given to me complimentary plays a huge role in that decision. And the foundation drops, I again realize for someone with dry skin, I think someone with super dry skin would absolutely love this formula as it is nourishing. It feels silky on the skin. And I do have dry skin as well, but it's a little too zhuzhy for my taste. So that that's going to stay on the shelf. And also wanted to mention, and if you're wondering if I'm getting this Natasha Denona foundation, still to this day, I haven't been able to actually visit a Sephora that has it. I think by now some should, and hopefully can grab a sample, because Sephora retailers have been a little funny with their sample. Some locations offer and some don't. So it's almost like a gamble. But all that to say, someone who's a skin twin of mine said I was going to have a hard time finding a good skin match. So I'm looking at NP10 and the shade above that. We'll see. I might have to sacrifice a little bit of skin tone in order to try this foundation and wear it, but I'm not in a rush. Not in a rush, I have to be honest, because I love the Tom Ford. I love my skin tint samples that I have. I also still love my Givenchy, my Prada Reveal. I'm sure it's a fantastic product. I just already have fantastic products in my presence. So that's why I haven't reviewed it yet. My apologies if you've been waiting on my thoughts about it, but that's where I'm at. And Natasha Denona's new palettes. Again, wasn't in a rush to buy those because they remind me of Biba, but just extended, which is fine. I think if you don't have Biba, you might consider buying either the soft or dramatic. When I saw those two palettes, I just thought, my goodness, that is so much eyeshadow. And shame on me for saying that as someone who owns a ton of eyeshadow palettes. But within the month of August, and of course I'll go over my favorites with the Miss Dior, the Louis Vuitton, and other palettes I received complimentary from Viseart, Bibliophilia, recently released by Byredo, which is a limited edition product and I think sold out now on the Byredo site. My gosh, that was heavily sought after. I had a little bit of eyeshadow palette fatigue, so that's why I didn't buy either the soft or dramatic. But if I had to choose one, it will probably be the dramatic palette because of those beautiful red tones. Again, don't really need it, but I know many of you like my eyeshadow palette reviews and I'm grateful for that feedback. I'm grateful and humble that you think me worth watching or waiting on my opinion for new products that are releasing now. So I might just pick up one. And the Isamaya palettes, I've been holding off too. Originally, I thought it was just going to be the shadows that were in her original palettes now plopped into the new palette format, but she actually reformulated them. And I'm like, oh, that changes the story entirely. So I might pick up both as I am interested in finding out what those formula differences are and what they feel like, how they look, right? I want to get into the nitty gritty. So the kidney palettes, as I like to call them, because that's exactly what they look like. Hopefully I could get my hands on them soon and will provide that review later in September. I know you might want to see it now, but maybe I can still review it then and you can think about perhaps purchasing them if they go on sale for Black Friday. And there's a chance that they might, because if they're releasing now, Isamaya Beauty, I think, is quite generous with their discounts and their promotions. So I think I'll have it up in time for you to consider if those palettes should end up on your wish list or not. So hopefully that sounds like a plan. Now we begin with these favorites. Dior here, Dior over there, Dior everywhere. My gosh, August officially became Dior Beauty Month for me. Everything from the Miss Dior collection, the new Forever Blush Soft Filter blushes. What I've never tried before, not necessarily a new product for August. This has been out for some time. The Dior Addict Hydrating Shine Lipstick. Listen, when I first tried on Bold Black, which was a limited color for the Miss Dior collection, but the formula, not new, the color, yes, new, I was just drawn into the Dior Addict cult immediately. I don't know if there is a cult, but I will certainly make one for this lipstick. It is a sensational formula. The entire experience of this product is almost like a balmy type of a sensibility because it's lightweight, it's easygoing. You don't need bandwidth, any at all, to apply this lipstick, but what's left behind is shine, is color, nourishing, silky feel on the lip. But the color selection is so outrageously good that you want each and every one, because again the texture is so easygoing that I'm wearing all types of colors that I wouldn't even think of wearing without any makeup. I'll slap on Star, which is this gorgeous red shade, and it instantly brightens up my complexion. It's more like a burgundy, so it has like that sophisticated feel about it. It's elegant, but it doesn't look out of place as if I were to apply like a cool red blue undertone type of a red lipstick. This has more of like an easygoing wear feel about it. And then of course my other two, these are my go-to shades, and of course they have the limited edition Miss Dior caps. If you are considering buying the Addict lipstick on the Dior Beauty website, you actually can get the bundle with a discount where you could choose the limited edition cap and then choose your Addict lipstick shade underneath, and it'll cost you like $10 less versus you buying the cap separately and the lipstick separately. The two go-to everyday shades were Dior Canage. Dior Canage is like my everyday deep nude. Is virtually my lips but better and warmer. And Daydream is like my lips but a little more mauvey. I either have Daydream or Dior Canage in my fanny pack or in my backpack at all times. It brings my lips together, beautiful color, beautiful shine, beautiful feel, and a pleasure to reapply. Because once this wears, your lips don't feel dry, sticky, or strange like they're in the desert. They just like, it's time for more lipstick. And when you apply this, the silkiness, the smoothness is just indescribable. You know what I'm talking about when you have, I'm sure before me, because I'm late to the Dior Addict Hydrating Shine Lipstick game, you've been wearing this for years. Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here, and I haven't purchased new shades yet. I am building a wish list with other shades that I have my eye on. I would love to go in store and still swatch and kind of figure it out, but man, this has been an incredible formula. And speaking of lipsticks, if you're wondering what I actually have on now, they recently released, and this is new for 2025, their Rouge on Stage Longwear Hydrating High Shine Satin Lipstick. What an exceptional formula. Like, to have a color rich lipstick formula that stays, because many of you had messaged me, you're like, this is an incredible lipstick. Man, I wasn't prepared. It seems strange, right, to wear a creamy, hydrating, high color payoff lipstick that doesn't feel dry and that's not matte. Right? Because usually satin lipsticks, the trade-off is it's not going to wear as long as a matte does. But Dior has managed to develop a lipstick formula that checks off all the boxes. Sure, the shine might not last as long as the color payoff, but I don't mind. Because look, just look at this lipstick. You are seeing a berry attitude in action. I own berry attitude, confident nude, copper attraction, and redwood star. Oh, and Fearless Brown. Fearless Brown, I gotta say, I don't know which product from August I attribute my current obsession of brown lipsticks to, but Fearless Brown definitely played a role in developing that obsession. Because when I applied this color, it was as if an entire world just opened up in front of my eyes. The fact that I could throw on a deep brown lipstick and not give two craps about if I have mascara on, if I have blush on, who cares? The lipstick itself just kind of takes on all those roles, and it's therefore a statement product. It's a statement lipstick for the face in that moment. It just brings everything together. It amplifies what outfit I'm wearing. It just everything. Oof. And since then, I had my eye, and I still do, on different deep brown lipsticks in several finishes, be it more like the hybrid Addict formula, dedicated satin, soft matte, liquid, it doesn't matter. I need it. And Berry Attitude definitely inspired what I would like to create a small autumn makeup series that touches on like what I think of like the major pillars of autumn makeup inspiration, the pumpkin spice looks, the wine looks, which I think I'm going to redo and have it more like more potent. And of course the Harvest looks with the more muted oranges and olives and khaki shades. I think that'll be a lot of fun, like the mustard. So I have to work on that. But man, Rouge on stage easily became one of the best performing lipsticks for 2025. And I know I'm not a lipstick connoisseur. It's been recently that I dove heavy into lipstick formulas from different brands, specifically the luxury beauty space. I haven't been wearing them in this capacity years ago, right? This is recent, but I can honestly say that this has to be one of Dior's most successful releases this year. This lipstick is kicking booty. Now, the Forever Blush Soft Filter. I didn't anticipate how successful this blush formula would be, and shame on me. The minute I applied Orchid, this was one of the first shades that I purchased alongside Peony. Orchid is like this deep, kind of muted peach, deep nude shade, and Peony is more like a softened pink. It's actually quite lovely on my skin tone. I didn't anticipate how more like pink it would look. I thought it would look a little ashy and gray, but is lovely. But the shade that I was waiting for that didn't release with the other shades, it was like a few weeks after the first 8 shades released for this product, is Oud. And I am comfortable saying this. Oud is your new age vintage blush Rouge 2.0. What am I talking about? In the olden days where there was like only one blush shade, there was like one Rouge shade for the cheeks that everybody wore. You could sheer it out, you could increase the color payoff, the intensity of the color, and it looked great on everybody. This is the shade. If you're lighter skin tone, you could apply it lightly, more like a wash. If you're a deeper skin tone, you can build up the color intensity. If you're like me in the middle, you could go either way, and it just delivers that beautifully natural blushed effect on the face. It doesn't matter where you sit on the spectrum. This shade is flattering on several skin tones. It is, again, the modern Rouge. The modern Rouge, that one shade that just delivers that instant glow, that lift, that flush effect on the cheeks. That's not NARS orgasm. You know what I mean? Like peach, in my opinion, is not, it can appear natural, it can appear nice, pink, yes, but the reds, as I described in my red blush video, the history about red blush, and that is the color, it's the color of blood, it's the color of life. And this is Oud. This is what it is. It looks deep in the bottle, right? And it looks intense on the swatch, but you just gotta move and groove with it. And oh my goodness. Yes, it has fragrance, but I tolerate it because the formula is just goated. Light, moussey, creamy. It just kind of swims on the skin. And the way it lays down color, the way it delivers that just beautiful, perfect blush effect. Beyond words. And yes, I briefly showed the Miss Dior Quints that initially I was not going to buy because people had expressed their disappointments about it, that they weren't worth the money, and I get that entirely. I was just totally taken by these silly little canvas bags that, yes, you can argue are not worth the $74.80, however much these cost, because it is a limited edition product. But I quite enjoy these Quints. They're just simple, easy to just slap on the eyes. I don't have to think about it. And surprisingly, the bold black Quint is definitely my favorite. And it was the one I was going to purchase. This was the one I initially had my eye on because it's so versatile. Even with the black shadow, incredibly easy to experiment and layer. You don't necessarily have to create a bold, smoky eye. You can limit the intensity of that black eyeshadow. You could limit it to just your lash line, maybe just lightly dusting some color here on the outer lid, or you could go super bold with that intensity. You have that option. But what I love most is this mint because you can use it as like an inner corner highlight. You could also use it for like a luminous finish on the lid, but I do think the bold black shade has the best sparklies. These guys here, these have, I thought, the most reflectivity, because you can create that beautiful sparkle effect, whereas I think these sparklers in bold, what is this palette called? Wild Beige. The Wild Beige sparklers are weaker. Bold Black, I think, has the best ones. I don't have the Shocking Pink one, nor do I have the Lilac one. I just speak from the Quints that I have. Between the two, Bold Black's the winner. And quickly mentioning what recently released, the Dior Backstage Glow Maximizer palette. I have 003 Pearly Peach Glow and the Dior Forever Nude Matte Filter in 01 Light. I use the matte filter powder to lay down some diffusing and setting under the eyes. I love the light shade because it's perfect for the inside of my face, where 3 would have been more appropriate for all over, and it would have been a little too dark for under eye setting. And this is just a straightforward matte powder. It's blurring, it lessens the look of pores, but still appearing lightweight under the skin. It's an incredible powder. I'm looking at this now, and I've been reaching for it all month, ever since I purchased it. It just melts into the skin without looking powdery or dry whatsoever. And that's just my personal experience. It's so funny. People on my Dior Forever Nude Filter powder short were like, oh my God, your skin's so dry. I'm like, you'll be okay. Maybe take a walk and come back, because I purposely applied it on just my natural skin just to see what effect it would have as a solo powder. If dryness is an issue to you, just make sure you prep the skin well. Wear a foundation that, like the Givenchy Glow Serum, that's a little more luminous in terms of the finish, and I think the powder would look great, and it's been looking great on me all month. And returning to the Backstage palette, they did reformulate, and in my opinion, this sparkly shade is better than the sparkly shades in the older Backstage palettes. It's smoother, it melts into the skin more, and actually you don't have to just use this for highlights on the cheeks. I tapped on the sparkler shade on my eyeshadow because it's a great opportunity, if you do have a palette that might not be super sparkler in your face, to just add a little bit of that twinkle effect using this highlighter here. And of course I use this highlighter for my cheekbones today. But something to consider, these powders, I wouldn't say they're baked. They might look baked because of how the pans look in the compact, but they are on the drier side. So you will be more successful in applying these powders on prep cheekbones. For instance, if I would have went in with my Victoria Beckham Beauty Reflect highlighter stick and then layered on the Dior Backstage powder, you would have seen a higher reflective finish on the cheekbones for sure. But if you actually want more of like a subdued highlight look, then you can apply these powders on powdered skin. But again, you're not going to get that same adherence and stick as if you were to apply these powders on more zhuzhed up skin, if, for lack of a better word. My vocabulary is terrible, my apologies. And speaking about eyeshadow, the Giorgio Armani Eye Tint. Again, not a new product for August. It was new to me in August, specifically in the shade 25, I think it says. It wore off. It's the shade Sandalwood. Sandalwood is my everyday warm beige lid shade. This is the product that I use under a number of different eyeshadows, especially Wild Beige. If I needed a little more something to set up these shades, right, I'll apply Sandalwood first. I could even go in with Bold Black afterwards. I could go in with the Chanel palettes that we'll get to for sure. Or I can just wear this solo, blur the edges with my finger, because this product is incredibly easy to blend with fingers, let alone a brush, my gosh. And it just has that perfect canvas lid effect on my eyes, where I could also now follow up with the Danessa color fix sticks, excuse me, where I could probably grab from either the metallic or the foil side if I want a little more shine, if I want a little more color richness across across the lid, a little more sparkly, or if I wanted to keep it matte and follow up with my product liner in wood. Ultra Simple Eye with my Product Scope mascara. This has been a quintessential part in my eye routine, and I do like it better than the Makeup by Mario. I've only purchased one shade, Sienna, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the instant warmth that it provided, and I would use it in the same way that I use the Giorgio Armani tint. I do think the tints last longer and they're more lightweight. They are. I haven't purchased more since because, again, we are heading towards Black Friday season. I know it's only mid-September, but you know how it goes when September starts, okay? The months just roll by. The specials, the promotions, the sale events start creeping up earlier than November. I just want to get my wish list started, and I didn't want to indulge in all these little items before I had the opportunity to perhaps get them on discount, because I do have a few others on my radar. The NARS blush sticks are fine. I wouldn't say they're an ultimate favorite because I adore the So Chic Blurring Pillow Blush formula, the Dior Soft Filter. These are fine. They're fine. They're solid. What I would have liked to have seen was a better color selection. NARS, in my opinion, just took a turn where it doesn't hold that same edginess it used to before it got sold or someone else was at the helm. I don't know the details about that transition, but NARS to me was like edgy runway. It was almost like grungy fashion makeup that just hold a unique perspective in that space, especially with the colors they released. I mean, Exhibit A, when it released years ago, was, I mean, it caused just ripples in the blush sector, right? Like, to have this bold red color and for it to work, you know what I mean? And their eyeshadows, everything just had a little bit of to it. Now it just feels more mainstream. This shade specifically, Sinful. I was hoping Sinful had a little more of like a burgundy feel to it, almost like Oud. And like, Lisa, then why would you want two shades the same? I don't care. I still would have thought NARS would have interpreted Brick Red to be more muted, to be more interesting. And also I grabbed, what does this say? Dolce Vita. Dolce Vita is pretty. It's kind of like Peony on Me. That soft mauvey pink is fine. The formula, smooth, easy to work with. All that's fine. It's just it's the shades that I was like, okay. Again, it didn't have that edge. It didn't have that more muted, grungy element to the color selection. And what I haven't seen in NARS for quite some time, with all these like palettes they're releasing, the cheek palettes and the eyeshadow palettes, they're fine. They just don't have that same effect on me. Let me know if you feel the same down below about NARS. YSL's Make Me Blush was released in 2 new shades in August, one being 15 Chili Crush. This, speaking about red, is an intense blush formula. It does not play around. Okay, that's why a little goes a long way. As I demonstrated when I filmed with this powder blush at Maddie's house, I forgot my brushes. I forgot to pack them. It was hilarious when I'm just digging through my carry-on and saying where I forgot them. Okay, but I still had my Suku, my little Suku Blurring Blush Compact brush at my disposal. Thank goodness, it saved the day. And managed to apply this blush, but was shocked by how little required to cover the entire cheek area. It's insane. It's an incredible color. It's matte. I think it moves well for a red blush. You know, might not be as easy to apply because people were like, ooh, I wanted it, but I don't know now. Just based off the demo I had in that video. Just, if you pick up too much, you're gonna be blending and blending until you get it down to a color intensity you feel comfortable with. I will show you now, but it's gonna completely just take over. You know what I mean? But if that's what you like, if you like that literal red blush look on the face, you will get it from Chili Crush. Also, the other shade was Hot Mauve that I was surprised to discover when I swatched it in Sephora, that it took on more of like a salmon pink on me. Salmon pink is fine, but it's not my go-to shade because I have Orchid, and Orchid is more of like a muted peachy type of a color. You could probably still categorize it as salmon, but it's like a muted salmon on me, and I much prefer this undertone than the hot mauve, so I didn't pick up that shade. It's still on the shelf. And now we've arrived at the Chanel. I haven't purchased Chanel eyeshadows in eons, but when I saw that these limited edition Louboutin shadows, limited edition compacts, I was completely taken by this palette specifically in 219 Vuitton Couture. The satin, coppery, listen, it's not like the eyeshadow is mind-blowing, okay? Especially if you like indie shadows. If you're into that, you would not be impressed by these shadows. It's the fact that, well, they don't look like that anymore. The eyeshadow compacts have the embossings of the different button designs in the Chanel fashion house throughout the years. I like that inclusion in terms of integrating fashion history in the makeup, if you will. That was $219, and I also picked up $239 Vuitton Couture with the sparkly purple. I was shocked by how much sparkly was in this purple. Again, you might not be impressed because you're like, piff, you know how many sparkly purples I have that would kick that purple's tush? I get it entirely. I just like that it's in this little palette. I enjoy the ease of use. The satin finish for me is one that, and I was speaking to a fellow eyeshadow friend online where she was explaining how it baffles her that satins are not as well loved as metallics and the other, crazy finishes. And satins for me are fantastic in terms of it just be naturally blurring on your lid skin where it enhances your eyes, and that sheen that's left behind I just think is beautifully sophisticated, and it has an effect that other shadows just don't possess, right? And this is what you'll find in these Chanel compacts. I absolutely adore them. I'm happy that I have them because my gosh, when they released online, they were gone. There was something about this release that just yanked people to their keyboards. I don't know what it is. It yanked me. I, again, was not particularly a fan of Chanel makeup. I had my moments back in March during their spring collection. It was either March or April where I grabbed 2 of their eye stylos, and I love those products. But traditionally, I don't shop Chanel. These, though, I had to have them. And I'll take a moment to now speak about what had to be the most controversial beauty release I don't think we've seen in a long time. The Louis Vuitton or Louboutin Louis Vuitton eyeshadow palette and lipstick. Now, I won't cover the pricing, what went to the, whatever. You can see all of that in my Louis Vuitton video. I have 2. Well, I have 3 actually. The release online, I did a window shopping video. I went to the store, did a video on that, impromptu. Third, I did a deeper dive into these products where I show the eyeshadow palette. Since I didn't buy the eyeshadow palette first, I just purchased a lipstick. Yes, I said I was going to buy anything, and then I bought it, and everyone was like, what do you mean? Yes, you can see all of that full length in that playlist. And it's funny, you can make the argument 100% that you wouldn't be able to tell if what I'm wearing is a $160 lipstick. I don't think that's the point. The point is, if you love high luxury packaging, then this is it, right? And to someone's point, as someone pointed out, using all metal in makeup packaging isn't necessarily new. We've seen that in older makeup packaging, and I'm sure Lisa Eldridge, our makeup historian, has a bunch of compacts that are made of all metal and glass, ultra crafted pieces. They're works of art, really. And I think Louis Vuitton is trying to get back to that. More brands maybe want to get back to that. The no plastic thing, right? There wasn't plastic traditionally used in makeup packaging, but with the mass production of it all, they had to use a cheaper material to keep up with the demand. Now, with all metal, with brass and aluminum, it definitely takes on, yes, I bought a new refill. What I have on the eyes, what do you think down below? Louis Vuitton has definitely started a reintroduction to that era of higher profile compacts, packaging, and that's what you're paying for. You're paying for the name, you're paying for the construction. I could argue, sure, you wouldn't be able to tell this is Louis Vuitton eyeshadow. Absolutely not. I have a bunch of other eyeshadows that are cheaper that I could achieve this same look with. So why did I buy this compact? I adore it. I love how it looks, how it feels, just everything from the engineering to it being all metal, the heavy magnetic base. This magnet base does not play around. Sorry, it's so shiny it's going out of focus. And the fact that they went with the black backdrop and the Louis Vuitton gold detailing, and we'll probably see more limited edition compacts releasing. And the lipstick is by far my favorite. I didn't realize that the base and the refill are magnetic, or the base is magnetic. So it's almost like a lock and key feel, which is an homage to Louis Vuitton, a trunks, Maison trunks, that's their thing. So yeah, that's why I bought it. I bought it for that. I didn't necessarily buy it because I thought this formula was going to be worth $160, worth $250, and I bought it as a Pat McGrath fan because Pat McGrath was the creative director of this release, and I wanted to experience what she did with the makeup, what color she chose, what she did with the textures and the eyeshadows. So that's it. I'll leave it at that. And this is Monogram Touch. Is this Monogram Touch? I have the refill here. I had wanted to film 896 Monogram Rouge. I wanted to film a short with the shadows untouched because I know how we like that fresh look, but I couldn't resist. I couldn't resist using the shadow palette for the video. If I were to get another refill, it will probably be Nude Mirage and maybe Cosmic Dreams, maybe. And for the lipstick, definitely need to get Rumbling Storm. I already have Volcano Heart, Vita Night, Silken Spice, and there are a few others on my wish list. And I think at this point, the stores have been a little more flexible in how customers interact with the makeup. I don't mind that an associate's there with me. I don't mind that I have to be babysat. Just let me swatch, okay? Let me swatch on my own. Maybe try more than 3 lipsticks. That would be great. If you want to find out what that's about, you could learn more in my previous videos, as I mentioned before, and all that good stuff. But I've been wearing the eyeshadow. I've been using the lipstick. I love using this lipsticks. It's just so satisfying. And Vita Night is like, talk about my lips but better, soft, matte, and blurred. It's like a deep rose. And there's another shade that released, I think it was a September release, if I can't keep up, the Givenchy Rouge Velvet Matte in 905. That's like a more muted deep rose. I think I made that comparison in my foundation video, and you could check out the timestamp just to get to that section without watching the entire thing if you like. And a huge thank you to the Vanngo beauty team for sending PR. I was just humbled and grateful for the opportunity. I have a first impressions video taking a look at these products, and I think by this time I would have already uploaded my eyeshadow palette video where I swatch all palettes, well, except Outstanding Orange, because I already swatched that palette in the original first impressions video, but I swatched the rest of the palettes, do looks with all those palettes. My eyes were killing me for like days afterwards. And I gifted the rest of my palettes to Lori from It's Lori's Life. If you want to check her out, she has streaming, she has beauty reviews, and I was happy to gift her the palettes because I knew I was going to keep all of them. The 2 that I kept are Outstanding Orange and New Neutral, which I quite enjoy. The Outstanding Orange inspired the pumpkin spice video that I still want to film alongside Possibilities. Possibilities is a beautiful muted pumpkin orange blush that I thought fantastic for my pumpkin spice video. So these products I'm going to use with maybe Louis Vuitton's Silken Spice or even Dior's Copper Attraction. I think that'll be a great combination. But I haven't tried Hung's bronzer yet because I forgot to read in my first impressions video. They did make a note on the pamphlet that the bronzers were still arriving. I think at the time they were sending PR, they didn't have the bronzers at that time, so influencers couldn't get it. But I'm more than happy to try it in store and see what the deal is. But I'm happy for Hung and his new beauty collection. I've enjoyed a lot of his products thus far, and my predictions are the eyeliners are going to be one of the favorites, the blushes for sure, some of the eyeshadow palettes. The lipsticks I like. I do prefer my other formulas because I'm just completely taken by the Dior Addict, the On Stage, even the Louis Vuitton matte. Hung's is like a satin to matte, so it applies like a satin but sets as a matte, and I think it's interesting. And also I have to look at the more nude colors in his collection, perhaps if I have a better color match, because they sent me, I think it was Hung Red, or it's that red orange, basically the color of his packaging. The brand color is nice, but one that I wouldn't wear all the time. The berry color is pretty, but it's more like a straightforward plum, and I prefer more of like a brown plum, as you see I'm wearing here, and a rose, like a pink rose that I will have to mix with another color or even combine with a separate liner. So, but he has two eyeliners, the Velvet and the Longwear, and I think people are going to love the Longwear because they're smooth and you have a little bit of blending time, and the color selection is fantastic. So we'll love to know if any of you have picked up Hung Vanngo ever since it released. I believe it was the 8th of September, so I'm a little late. What you have your eye on, what you've already tried, would love to know. And we have arrived at, I'm looking at my list here, Byredo. I can't recall what the official release date for Bibliophilia was, but I think it was late August, I think. Unfortunately, many received a palette from Nordstrom with shadows that were lifting out of the pans because Nordstrom did a terrible job in packing a high-profile limited edition beauty product in flimsy paper one mailers. Little cushioning, little care, and that's why these palettes are arriving to their buyers wrecked. I was lucky. I was, because I found my palette in the same flimsy paper mailer, and by the grace of the beauty gods, it survived. There's no lifting of shadows. None of them arrived crack. Just annoyed still. All that to say, it's hard for me to decide which is now my most favorite Byredo palette. It really depends on your preference, because those who decided to not buy Bibliophilia, not necessarily because they thought it was an ugly color story, but for their skin tone and preference, they much rather wear Mineralscapes. Mineralscapes is like cool muted colors that are just gorgeous, and one of my most favorite Byredo releases thus far. But something about Bibliophilia is, I mean, you'll know because I have a video swatching all the shadows. I demoed 4 looks. I recently posted a short showing 2 looks I used with this palette. I think what increased my enthusiasm for Bibliophilia is learning the inspiration behind the palette, because Bibliophilia means love of books, and the colors and textures you find in older libraries like medieval types with the parchment pages and like the red rich tones, the golds, everything that is seen in those spaces is represented color-wise in this palette. And when I learned that, it just connected me to the color story in a way that I wasn't prepared for. But using this palette, and unfortunately a trade-off I think people experienced with receiving some of these shadows lifted, is that this is perhaps one of Byredo's best formulated palettes at a cost, because they're so soft that if you're not careful with how you handle this palette, with how Nordstrom packs these palettes, you will experience broken shadows. But with that softness and finely milled texture, you get impeccable pickup, incredible color laydown, and the finish. These mattes are like more demi-matte. They're not dry where they look like a powder on your skin. They almost have, again, like a demi-matte finish. It's hard to explain. It's hard to explain. It's something you have to feel on your own. For instance, I'm swatching this shadow here, which in pan, don't want to flip you, which in pan looks like a matte. But see that sheen and see how it blends? It has a blurring effect, a softening, diffusing characteristic to it. Simple to use, easy to use. And with the taupes and the grays and the silvers, and then you have these reds, I don't know, there's something about this palette. I was completely taken by it, loved all the looks I created. For instance, I could create a similar looking eye using Bibliophilia and you wouldn't be able to tell. You wouldn't be able to tell if it's Louis Vuitton, if it's Byredo, right? It's more so owning these limited edition products. Louis Vuitton is not limited edition, but for the compact, for the packaging, I chose to buy it for. And for Byredo, I've collected Byredo palettes ever since Prismic. So it was just something I had to do. And I love this palette. I love it to death. I haven't decided if I love it more than Mineralscapes. I understand, however, that Bibliophilia might be more flattering on my skin tone. I get that completely. Mineralscapes is mostly cool tones, muted tones, which I could get away with. I have a neutral undertone, so I could rock with those colors for sure. But the warmer taupes, I say neutral taupes, but the cooler tone taupes and the reds. But again, reds are not for everyone because, you know, I was told that Lucia loves reds and some people were not pleased with her choices. And I get if you're of a skin tone that red is not particularly flattering, where it's going to give you, you know, zombie eye, sick eye, pink diseased eye, that this is not going to be your first choice and one a color store you're not going to reach for. So I get it, but I had to include that on the list for sure. And briefly mentioning this Christian Louboutin shiny lipstick in Cocoa. Wait, isn't? I hope it's on the bullet. Yes, Cacao Temple 44-7S. Cacao Temple is goated. And here it is next to Fearless Brown. You can see Fearless Brown is more of your red brown. Cacao Temple is like brown, and it is just beautiful on the lip. And I love the component too. I mean, so Christian Louboutin, like heel in your face. I haven't purchased another one since because I'm completely taken by Cacao Temple and it fulfills all of my bold lipstick wishes and then some. And again, it has inspired me to look into more brown lipsticks in discovering the different undertones, ones that are more like black brown, all the way brown, brown red, plum brown. There are so many different nuances and I think they all look fantastic, but I'm just in my brown lipstick era. I adore it, especially in this season where I can throw it on anything. I can have anything on and it looks super vampy right away and just kind of zips me up. It zips up the elegance on cue and I just feel put together, even with jeans on. And it's funny, short story, I was in Vegas for a work conference and in the Wynn you have all the restaurants, right? Like everything's there for you to just walk to. I wanted to get away with wearing jeans, albeit they weren't a light wash. They were the darker wash that looks a little more upscale and not as casual. But I have these like super blinged out Crocs that I wanted to wear with my jeans. And I was speaking with my client at the time. I'm like, I wonder if I could get away with, wearing my jeans and Crocs to dinner. So what I did was apply Rumbling Storm, which you see here. But I had like my black collar shirt on and my hat with the necklace, my jeans, and my Crocs. I went into the elevator. It was quite packed. And I was next to this Asian lady who had a Chanel purse, as well as some blinged out sandals. Okay. I see her looking down on my Crocs and she's like, pretty. And I'm like, fancy Asian lady approved. But what did I have on with the shiny Crocs? A brown lipstick. This is what I'm saying. This is the effect the brown lipstick has. It can take you super grunge and goth. I get that completely, especially depending on what you wear. But it could also fancy you up. And of course, we have to end with the recently released Sonia G Traditions series Kiyaki Kakishibu face and eye brush additions to her TF sets and her T sets for eyes. We have T7 through 9 for the eyes and the beloved, what has immediately become a favorite cheek brush, the TF4. I've been using these brushes ever since. I used the T8 to blend the berry color from the Louboutin palette, use the T7 to slap on the shimmer, use the T9 to get that lash line smoke going. These brushes, my gosh, I gush over them in my Sonia G video, so you can head over there to get into the details, the close-ups, and demos using each and every brush. But these have been my go-to. What is exceptional is the T8, because I love a one-and-done eyeshadow brush that not only picks up ample product for lid coverage, but can also double as that diffusing tool to get those edges nice and blurred after you've applied that color on the lid. And it does leave behind more of a blown out effect, which is how I like to wear my eyeshadows. Sometimes, maybe most of the time, especially with that satin berry color from Monogram Touch or Monogram Rouge, excuse me. This is, oh, I just whipped this color on. You see that? Get a little more going there. Now I understand is quite a large brush. So with my eyes, it can work, right? Where it can lay down beautiful color, but just diffuse it effortlessly at the same time. And of course I could follow up with the smaller brushes for detail work, but this, the TF4, has just been sensational. And to demonstrate, I want to pick up a little bit of possibilities and show you, despite how small the brush is, it can whip around any color across the cheeks in an even fashion where it doesn't look splotchy, nor does it lift up any makeup from underneath. The foundation remains intact, the application is smooth and even. And look, we added a little bit of like that orange to the look. I know I stole away my wine look, but I just wanted to demonstrate the TF4, don't be mad at me. And I've also used it with my Backstage palette in picking up either the highlight or the more shimmery powders here, where I can apply it lower on the cheeks. And because you can whip it around, it applies and buffs at the same time. So that's why it's a go-to tool and has found its way in my makeup bag. I take it everywhere with me. It's just phenomenal. Up there with the Bobon Chikuhodo CH02, right? ZH02 is larger, so it's gonna have a different application than the TF4, but that's why I love both, because I will use the CH02 maybe for bronzer and the TF4 for more precise application, maybe like more of a contour shade in the hollows of the cheeks, and of course highlight and blush to get it around. I can even use this to blur out the edges of my eyeshadow, or even bring blush here around the eyes for that blush drape effect. So these tools have been phenomenal. I've been using them nonstop, and a huge thank you again to Sonia G and Beautylish for sending these complimentary. Again, you could check out my video with all the details. And yeah, that has been August. My gosh, it took me forever to finally film this video. And now I have to review what I purchased and sampled so far in September. Getting ready for that video and preparing myself for the holiday releases, because they're already trickling in. We got the photos and the notifications for what's coming up soon. And I just want to buy what interests me, hunker down, and not go crazy. So I'm planning on filming a shot with me video so we can take a look at the recently released holiday products together and see what's on our radar, see what we might buy, what we will leave on the shelf, and enjoy the makeup that I have. August was phenomenal because everything I purchased, mostly everything I purchased, have been hits. And I've been cocktailing, layering, experimenting, combining. All of my products enhance each other. And what I get is this. I'm thrilled with all the outcomes, and you can see my makeup looks for August that I did for my videos, and I think it explains itself. The success of these products, how beautiful they are, how I've been enjoying them. So I'll make sure to also create an August playlist, because if you want more details of any of the products that I showed in this video, I will make sure to include the corresponding video in that playlist, and you could also sift through the timestamps if you wanted to find something specifically and and again not watch the entire thing. And if you made it this far, make sure you like this video by clicking that thumbs up. It helps me tremendously in letting the YouTube algorithm know that I'm worth watching and will now recommend my videos to watch for other beauty enthusiasts such as yourself. And consider subscribing if you like what you see today. Perhaps you would like to see more, and you'll know when those new uploads drop, especially when you click that notification bell. And of course, if you are a returning subscriber, I appreciate the watch. I appreciate the support. If you are new, well, hello. Please stay, peruse some more. Maybe I'll see you in this video here. I'll definitely see you down in the comments for this one. And on here again next time.